Coverage of the 109th Indianapolis 500 is brought to you by Qapital. So another Indianapolis 500 is in the book, the 109th running of this great event. It was chaotic. It was controversial for reasons of internet upsettingness. I just made up that word. But yeah, I think there's some really legitimate complaints about the quality of the racing here on the super speedways, of which there are now one in IndyCar. And we'll definitely get into all of that. But I don't want it to overshadow a fantastic new winner, a fantastic new champion of the Indianapolis 500. And if you have enjoyed any of my coverage this month, or this is your first video here on the channel, subscribe. We hit the 100,000 subscriber mark this month. It's been absolutely awesome. The team has been just going at it. It's not just me. I'm just kind of the face of it. So without any further ado, let's talk about this Indianapolis 500. Alex Palou in the perfect tens. It was something that came up on our show on Verified, and I think it's just one of the most fitting phrases you could possibly say. The perfect tens. That's what Alex Palou and the number 10 oh boy, I'm living in the past. The DHL Chip Ganassi racing team were able to do today. 5 of the first 6 races Alex Palou has won. The only other race this season Alex Palou did not win. It was a second at Long Beach to Kyle Kirkwood. The Indy 500, of course, is different, and Alex Palou's car and Alex Palou himself were standing here just a few minutes ago. It's actually kind of surreal to be doing this right now, but this was a win that has been a long time coming. You think about Alex Palou, and yes, his rookie year in the 2020 year, which no one really remembers, he had a crash. He came back here the next year in 2021 and had an extremely exciting duel with Helio Castroneves. He tried to deny Helio his 4th Indy 500 win that day, was unable to do it. But as he said in the post-race press conference, he learned a ton from Helio on that day. And when it came down to a race-deciding duel between Alex Palou and Marcus Ericsson, it was Alex Palou that came out on the top. And that's something I want to talk about a little bit here on the top of the video, which is the pass for the win. What an odd situation, because Marcus Ericsson played the strategy game pretty much perfectly. It actually kind of felt like 2022 a little bit, where he was the last guy to make the last pit stop and came out in front of the field, led the race, had their lap traffic advantage, and then all of a sudden, Alex Palou was able to sneak to the inside going into turn number 1, 4th in line, which is something that we almost never see happen, make the pass on Marcus Ericsson and make the pass that was ultimately for the win. Marcus Ericsson said post-race that it's a moment he's going to be replaying for many, many, many more moments over the course of his recent life, and probably the rest of his life, because you, as Marcus Ericsson knows probably better than anyone, a second place here at the Indianapolis 500 can feel worse than going out very early in the race, although I probably wouldn't say as bad as going out before the start. We'll talk about that as well here in a second.
Just like the Indy 500 isn't won in a single lap, building wealth takes strategy and the right team. With Qapital's automated savings tools, you'll navigate every turn of your money journey and race towards your goals faster. Whether you're saving for a new car, vacation, or building an emergency fund, Qapital puts money management strategies in your pocket. Download Qapital today at qapital.com/DavidLand. That's QAPITAL.com/DavidLand.
So let's take a look at the finishing results for the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500. Alex Palou, the perfect tens of Chip Ganassi Racing, winning the Indianapolis 500 at an average speed of 168 miles per hour. Alex Palou is on one of the most legendary runs of all time, and he cemented his legacy today with a win in the Indianapolis 500. They'll never forget Alex Palou, and he was pretty unforgettable to begin with. Marcus Ericsson scores another runner-up finish, returning to form. That was something that Marcus Ericsson's had a goal of this year, both with Andretti Global and racing here at the Indianapolis 500. Marcus Ericsson did pretty much everything right, except for he let Alex Palou get by him going into turn number 1, and that pass still a bit of a curiosity. David Malukas, after a year's absence, finishes on the podium for AJ Foyt Racing. What a fantastic debut, or I guess re-debut for David Malukas, a debut at the Speedway for AJ Foyt Racing. He looked like he had a shot at the end, but didn't have the speed of Alex Palou. Pato O'Ward was a favorite of many, including myself, to win the Indianapolis 500 today, but Pato only was able to manage fourth. There was a charge at one point where it looked like Pato was going to take the lead, and then just the car faded away. He just never had race-winning pace, but he certainly had top 5 pace throughout the entire day. Felix Rosenquist, another driver that I would describe that way, the Creed car, coming home in the 5th spot for Meyershank Racing. He never competed for the lead, but Felix ran a really solid 500 miles. Driver of the day, if we gave this away, and it's not a surprise, to be honest with you, if you've paid attention to recent Indianapolis 500s. Kyle Kirkwood, from the 23rd position on the starting grid, brings it home a solid and, quite frankly, it's going to be very, very underrated 6th position. Someday, someone will give Kyle Kirkwood a race-winning car that he can qualify at the front, and Kyle Kirkwood will win the Indianapolis 500. But until then, he's going to continue to be that guy that you look at the end of the day and say, holy crap, he finished in the top 10. Speaking of top 10s, Santino Ferrucci in P7 continues one of the most amazing streaks I've ever seen at the Indianapolis 500. He's never finished outside of the top 10, and he's been racing here since 2019. Just unbelievable for Santino Ferrucci, but I know he wanted more than that. Christian Rasmussen almost had his day come completely unglued on a restart in the middle of the race, but manages to bring home the number 21 Ed Carpenter Racing machine in the number 8 position. Really great for Christian Rasmussen. Christian Lundgaard gets into the top 10 for Arrow McLaren. A solid day today, a little bit of fuel mileage gamesmanship by Brian Barnhart and the boys, but it was Lundgaard finishing in the 9th spot. Connor Daly, at points, Connor Daly looked like he was headed for his first Indianapolis 500 win. The car was fast, but a blistered tire just before the last pit stop really took Connor out of the lead group and out of contention. Speaking of guys who really should have won this race, Takuma Sato. He led more laps than anyone, 51, started on the front row, should have dominated this race and was not able to do so. Shame for Takuma Sato. Callum Ilott is another driver that I would say qualifies for a driver of the day candidate. There's no doubt in my mind. Taking the Prema machine up to the front, that was just fantastic. Ran as high at points as 5th or 6th. I mean, it was just really good. Helio Castroneves was a pre-race favorite of many to win the Indianapolis 500, his 5th, but it's only 13th for Castroneves at the end of the day. And of course, here are the 2 controversial drivers, Devlin DeFrancesco in 14th and Louis Foster in the number 15 spot. The 2 Rahal Letterman Lanigan machines swapping back and forth in front of the leaders. A little bit of controversy online about that. Nolan Siegel crashed on the last lap, bringing out the yellow as the field came out of turn number 4 to take the checkered flag. Colton Herta, I believe at one point had a loose wheel. At least that's what it sounded like as he came by my position around the racetrack. Colton Herta, 17th spot, down a lap. Ed Carpenter was running at the front at times. I think they kind of didn't get the strategy right on Ed Carpenter. Will Power went off strategy as well for Team Penske, coming from the final spot on the grid only to 19th. Graham Rahal was just off the pace all day. Real shame for Graham. Only gained 8 spots, and many of those through attrition. Marcus Armstrong finished 2 laps off the pace, really struggled towards the end of the race. Looked like he almost got into the wall at times. Jack Harvey, I believe, got a speeding penalty and was on the wrong strategy. Just not a good day for Jack Harvey either. Scott Dixon had a brake fire that really took him out of contention. A lot of people, that was a lot of people's pre-race pick, Scott Dixon. Ryan Hunter-Reay, I believe, should have won the Indianapolis 500 today. He was on the perfect strategy, leading the race, had fuel, tires, and pretty much everything you could want in hand, and as well as the lead. But on the final pit stop, the car conked out, and Ryan Hunter-Reay was cost a second Indy 500 win for Ryan Reinbold Racing. Joseph Newgarden, in his pursuit of a 3rd Indianapolis 500 win, came up short due to a fuel pump issue, and he was in the top 5, and I think he would have been knocking on the door, able to win it, had he been in contention at the end. Stingray Robb, Kyle Larson, and Kiffin Simpson were all taken out when Larson lost it in front of the field. Big old crash. Glad everybody was okay there. Unfortunately, that I can't say the same for Robert Schwartzman as he came into the pits too hot, hit some crew members, damaged his car, and had to retire from the race in the 29th position. Rinus VeeKay also had pit stop problems, lost control of the car, backed it into the wall in the pits, and Rinus just caps off a disappointing month in 30th position. Alexander Rossi's car caught on fire. It looked like Rossi was going to be a contender early on, but mechanical failure as well as fuel spillage and just a real ugly situation in the pits. We're thankful that that didn't get worse than it was. Marco Andretti crashed going into the first corner on the first green flag lap of the race after a four-wide contact with Jack Harvey. And Scott McLaughlin, man, kind of Roberto Guerrero style, crashed coming not even to the green, coming to the formation lap on the front straightaway, just warming up his tires, stuck it in the wall. Really, really shame for one of the great guys in the sport. We're feeling for Scott McLaughlin this evening. Should mention as well, first hybrid Indy 500, Honda gets a 1-2. I'm sure that'll make them quite happy. This race was chaotic for a multitude of reasons. Many of those I mentioned in the results. The fact that we started the race, so I guess the most chaotic race that's ever been run here, is, at least as far as I'm aware, is the 1992 Indianapolis 500, which was cold, overcast. Do you see kind of where I'm going with this? And it was started with a crash before the start of the race. In fact, on the pace lap, that was the pole sitter Roberto Guerrero at that point. Scott McLaughlin crashed going into turn one, warming up his tires as the field was forming up. A very embarrassing and sad moment for Scott, but it just kind of set the tone. Then you had that crash in the first corner and really just crashes throughout the race. And the weather didn't help much either. The first time that I can remember, maybe this is a Dr. Indy question, or maybe some of you other historians around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway can kind of let me know here, but I can't remember specific yellow flags for sprinkles in the middle of the Indianapolis 500. The race was even delayed. There was some question about whether or not Kyle Larson was going to be able to run this race. Ultimately, it didn't matter because he was involved in a crash anyway at the midway point. But just a very, very odd race. So many drivers and cars threw it away as well. You think about Joseph Newgarden, a mechanical failure, which Penske, a mechanical failure, really? Coming from the back row, it looked like he was going to have a real shot at winning his third Indy 500. He was just perfectly primed to be there at the end, and then he was eliminated. Ryan Hunter-Reay, another great example, was pretty much on the perfect strategy as far as I could tell. He had the lead, he had a tire advantage, he had a fuel advantage. He literally just had to get through the last pit stop and didn't do that. Takuma Sato, dominant. One of the most dominating early parts of the 500 that I can remember. Could lead the race at will, could keep people behind him, and then another pit stop issue. Robert Schwartzman, we didn't really expect that he was going to be a factor, but much like many of us predicted, pit stop issue. That's what eliminated Robert Schwartzman from the race. Scott Dixon, like another mechanical failure. Alexander Rossi, mechanical failure. All of these things, this was a race that it seemingly nobody wanted to win. Of course, Alex Palou was able to do that. I suppose we'll talk about the racing quality, because this is a talking point that a lot of people are going to have after this race. And I feel like we saw a lot of the same problems we've seen for years compounded. This is not, the fact that you can't pass from third on back of the pack is not a new issue. It's something that we have talked about with drivers, with members of the media, with crew members for years and years and years, ever since pretty much the IR18 body kit, and especially since the Aeroscreen was added to it. This, however, was a race that I think we expected would be super, super competitive because of the conditions. When you have these cool temperatures, when you have overcast skies, these are the ideal conditions that we've seen in the past for this DW12 chassis to perform. In ideal conditions, we saw a race that I think a lot of fans weren't expecting. I'm not going to say it's a bad race. I'm not going to say it was super duper boring, because I don't think it was. I think there was we have a lot of things to talk about, a lot of excitement. But, I can't deny what my lying eyes are telling me. And what my lying eyes are telling me is that it's damn near impossible to pass. And when you have this issue with the lap cars, that's what everybody's talking about. The two Rahal cars swapping the lead in front. I don't blame Devlin DeFrancesco. I don't blame Louis Foster. It's a product of the racing. The fact that the fastest car on the racetrack, allegedly, the winning car, Alex Palou, could not pass two cars that were running 14th and 15th after running behind them for 30 laps. There's a fundamental problem there. I don't know exactly what the solution is, but I think if we at least can identify that it's a problem, maybe we can solve it. Because the superspeedway, yes, we run one superspeedway a year in IndyCar now. I don't know if you count Nashville. I wouldn't count Nashville. There's one superspeedway a year, and it's here. And this is the most important race. It's the biggest race, and yet it's a race that more often than not is dictated by a big fuel save train having to sit in line and wait, and you can't really take control of it as a driver or a team. It's a little bit frustrating to watch if you're a pure racing fan. There's no doubt about it. I don't know where the solution lies, and that's where I'm not an engineer. But there's got to be a better way to do it, because if you look at some of the short oval racing, you see the lap traffic become a factor. You see comers and goers and cars going to the front and going to the back. If we could race the Indy 500 like we race at Milwaukee, I think we'd really be on to something. I just want to talk about Alex Palou's place in history. I think because a lot of people are bringing it up, and rightfully so. This is the best IndyCar season we've seen since A.J. Foyt. And now that he's broken through on an oval track, there's no way you can minimize him anymore. He is one of the best drivers we have ever seen. Period. And I don't think these wins are going to stop. I don't think these championships are going to stop. These Indy 500 wins aren't going to stop. This is just another stop on the journey of Alex Palou. And when you put it in that perspective, I'm going to say something that I've said a lot of other times, is that I don't think there's anything wrong with someone dominating if you're going to historically dominate. And I think we should just appreciate Alex Palou for what he is, who he is, and the driver that he is, because he could be very well racing in Formula One or WEC or Formula E. He's racing in IndyCar. He just won the Indianapolis 500. The history books will talk about him for years after his retirement, right? So you got to see that today. That's history, and I love history. And Alex Palou makes a lot of history. It's been a historical month, for sure. Thanks to Gutswear for sponsoring her historical segments this month, as well as putting some T-shirts here in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I never thought that would be something. I saw a lot of people bought them. I keep hearing that they're selling out online, at least in terms of sizes. You should check those shirts out. I think they're pretty cool.
Wearing one today at the race.
Kyle said there was someone wearing one today at the race. That, whoever you are, you rule. You are a cool person. Speaking of Kyle, we've got more content coming tomorrow. Kyle and I will be doing our traditional post-race recap video where he and I will yap for God knows how long about God knows what. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you'll enjoy that. And I'm not going to speak this into his existence yet because I'm not exactly sure if it's going to happen, but there's something cool that I think we'll be able to show you guys tomorrow, hopefully. That will be really cool. So I don't want to speak it into existence yet because it might not happen, but I'm going to trust the process and say that it will happen. A few things I want to say before we get off the air. The fastest lap of the race, 226 miles an hour by Helio Castroneves. The fastest lap run by a leader was at Connor Daly, 222 miles an hour. Maybe that's the issue with the racing. Average speed was 168 miles an hour. The time of the race was 2 hours, 57 minutes. There were 22 lead changes and 45 laps of cautions. Over one-fifth of the race run under the yellow, over 100 miles. So we've got to wait a whole nother year. We've got to wait a whole nother year. But I hope you guys have enjoyed the ride. I know I've enjoyed covering this race, as this is the best race in the world. There's no doubt in my mind. Could it be better? For sure. There's a lot of things over the next 365 days that we can do to make this sport better in many, many, many ways. And we'll be talking about them, so be sure to subscribe here to the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. More coverage tomorrow, and we'll see you in the next video.